How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Ruckus and The Menace podcast. I'm Spence the Menace, one half of your guide through this episode,
And I am Ruckus.
and we are set to go. And we are set to go to begin the episode. Well, Ruckus, kind of some major things have gone on with us since the last time we were on the air, including some moves you've been making. Let's
Yeah,
start there.
and they're not like moves as you would think for like a sports move, like whenever you see like a main player move on. But here's the deal. So last week I posted a thing saying that we are now on Spotify and on the new episode. But it gets better than that. Not only are we on Spotify and Anchor I believe is owned by Spotify, we are also on Stitcher. And more importantly, we are now on Amazon Music. I honest to God thought it wasn't going to happen, but they're just another platform for people to listen to the podcast, and I am thrilled that we are with them, Spotify, and Stitcher.
In short, as simply what Wu-Tang said, we diversified our bonds.
Yeah, so if I will have the links in the description for the Spotify and all that when the video comes out, or yeah, we'll get through that. But yeah, it's very exciting news as far as getting more people to listen and also having more platforms to listen on /view.
I knew I was gonna say something. I was either gonna throw you off or kind of throw a little chuckle in and then just lead right into the next point.
All right, so we could get there now if you want. It's all good.
Oh well, I was talking just simply as the podcast update using the Wu-Tang reference, but that's just me.
Also, thank you guys for the continuous support that you've given us with the just viewing the videos, liking the videos. If you want to leave a comment later on in the show, you can. But yes, let's get right into it. Thank you so much again.
Well, kind of to really start out, just what else have you been kind of getting into?
Well, funny you should ask. When I wasn't trying to figure out where we could put the podcast on other platforms, I was playing a lot of MLB The Show, as usual, but I've also brought myself back into other games this week, and I have been playing Battlefield 2042 since it came out, but I've been taking breaks every week because I usually wait till Thursday when they had the weekly challenge. So I've been playing the weekly challenges on 2042, which if anyone is curious about the game, they are going to have a patch come out to Thursday, which during the recording it's Wednesday, so tomorrow night. And then I got back into a game that it's been a while since they updated it, and that is Back 4 Blood, the people that made the zombie game Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. As far as TV shows, I'm still binging some Bar Rescue every now and then, and I watched the new Batman movie. And I have some mixed feelings about it, but I'm not going to spoil it. Personally, I thought it was an alright movie.
I've already seen it, so we can and we're actually 2 months in on it, so actually spoilers are in appropriate window to be let out. So you're not spoiling anything. The only reason why I said I was not going to spoil Doctor Strange is because we were still within the trigger point. It's been about a couple months now. It's on HBO Max. We can speak.
Yeah.
I thought I saw the Batman last month, and it was definitely a darker Batman. Pattinson is a solid Batman with a very checkered Bruce Wayne. It's another interesting take on the Riddler. It built a lot of things for future movies within this line of thing, but I just it was way too slow. Like it felt like it was a drag. And the fact that something was definitely in the way of it becoming as great of a movie as it possibly can. And if you're not catching where I'm going with this, the major song that was being played throughout much of the Batman was a song called Something in the Way by Nirvana.
Yeah, I liked the little few minutes that they played in the beginning of the movie, or near the beginning, where they played Something in the Way. I liked that. The main takeaway uh that I like about the Batman movie was the Batman mobile. I liked it. It was a different change of pace compared to what it was in the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, but I still loved it. It felt, whenever you watch the scene where he's trying to chase after Penguin, it felt like a Mad Max movie for a second, and I literally went and looked it up, and I was like, I looked up the Mad Max director, and then I was like, yeah, that's definitely not that guy. But I also looked up the director for the Batman movie, obviously, because I wanted to see if like his accolades would show that he was in Mad Max, but he wasn't. But he was the director for the Planet of the Apes remake.
Hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah, so there was definitely a lot of things that were notable. I personally give the Batman like a 7.
Yeah, I'll 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 be right on that train as well. A 7. But anyways, how have you been, Spennis?
Oh, it's been not a ton going on, but it's still a lot of things that kind of just par for the course in its own unique way. Um my girlfriend is coming up for the weekend, so we will have things going on, like just kind of different little pieces there. Um I have been keeping up with the Paramount Plus the Challenge All Stars 3 that kicked off last week. It is basically a competitive reality show that Bill Simmons has previously called the fifth major sport, and it's hosted by former BMXer TJ Lavin, and it has its own cult following. And yes, I am one that does keep up with this and has watched various seasons. But I think the one thing that I would say that was major that came out within this week as far as outside of sports, Kendrick Lamar released a new album called Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, which in true perspective is a double album split 9 and 9, with one half of it being pretty much the Big Steppers and then the back half of it being Mr. Morale. So, have you caught up with this one, Ruckus?
I listen. So when it comes to new albums from creators I love, like Kendrick Lamar is probably one of my favorite ones when it comes to like rap from. How long would you say that Kendrick Lamar's been rapping, or when he was
Uh,
known? Like 2008?
um, I would have said the first album that really broke him through was Good Kid, Mad City. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
love
that
that.
that was I really think that was like 2011, 2012 was ultimately where I you would say that Kendrick Lamar ultimately took off. Um, but the album that truly defined Kendrick Lamar into that into that rising sense, it was To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah, I loved that one too. King Kunta was my favorite one. Besides we're gonna be all right, and many more of those. I loved the Blacker the Berry song. I've like Mad City is one of my favorite. Swimming Pools is a good one. But here's the deal: when it comes to just listening to music, I don't like. I try if I like the song, I'll listen to it all the way. But like if I want to like get to the rest of the song, I'll kind of skim it to see if it has a good beat and melody, and then and see how fast it is. But like other than that, like if it doesn't appeal to me in the fact of what they're either saying or just how the beat goes, I kind of like skip to the next one and the next one. So what I'm getting at here is on this album itself is it's just not for me. I'm sure a lot of other people would probably say otherwise, but I just didn't think it was for me. There's a couple songs I added to my playlist, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. Maybe I just need to simmer some more on it and just keep listening to it.
I will say that I listened to each side. Listen to each side. I will say between the two sides, I liked the Mr. Morale side more than the Big Steppers side because I think that the Mr. Morale side was definitely deeper. It it brought a lot more of what made Kendrick Lamar a high profile rapper. The Big Steppers was decent enough, but I think that you you have different like I like different tracks on it, but I would say the transition track between Ghostface's verse in Purple Hearts on the Big Stepper side to transition right over to the Mr. Morale side and then eventually leading into Silent Hill with Kodak Black and Savior and a whole bunch of these other tracks on Mr. Morale which carried the deepness of it. I'm taking like I will say that I kind of give Kendrick an 8 here. Just simply because it's like one side was more solid than the other.
Mm-hmm.
Not that both sides were bad, but I just think that I favored the Mr. Morale side a little more.
Yeah, my favorite album so far, just in general with Kendrick Lamar, was the Damn album, and
Yeah.
Mad City. This one, I just need a little bit more time with it as well.
I would have said for me I was more to Pimp a Butterfly, but that was because there was an interesting theme with how Kendrick Lamar went through a lot of the flow and transitions between that. Because you noticed how he went through like one particular major phrase throughout the entire album, and the lines in between, and the lines went one by one as he went throughout the track to lead up to a certain point.
Yeah.
That that made a lot it made a lot of sense, and it made you have to listen to the album from beginning to end without a shuffle. It's Kendrick does stuff that makes you think. It makes you have to actually listen to the albums as they are all the way through, no shuffling at all. And it's brilliant. He knows what he's doing. I mean, is he necessarily a rapper that I will listen to everything from? Probably not. But for the good amount that I would get into, I can get into some of it.
I love his creativity on his music videos, and especially the Super Bowl halftime that he had a brief stint in, where he had the Dre Day stuff going on. That was pretty damn cool. But my favorite was it was a promo for the Black Panther movie uh music video where when there's a part in the song where he's talking about red light, green light, and
Yeah,
in that
you're
part of it, I watched that and I was like, that is so damn cool. Like, I would totally like want
yeah,
to.
you're talking on King's Dead.
Yeah, I just couldn't
Because
remember the song. I have that one in my playlist, and I love that one because of the last part of it.
I think he had a major hand in that Black Panther soundtrack too. I mean, I
Oh
think
yeah,
J Rock also, but I think Kendrick,
and Big Shot.
yeah, because Coogler, I think, may have specifically called Kendrick for that.
Yeah.
But now that we've gotten through the new hip hop for the day, or the week, I should say, let's get right into the weekly lineup. And Ruckus, I am definitely going to say, let's, well, kind of where do we want to begin? Do we want to begin in football, or do we want to just give a little bit of an update on some of the playoff series?
I'm gonna be honest. I really just want to get this out of the way. The NBA playoffs. I saw yesterday on Tuesday the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat game highlights. Yes, I said highlights. To be honest with you, I was not surprised that the Celtics would probably just be kind of outmatched against the Heat. Because yes, the Celtics have like are more like 3-point hungry versus like in the paint and into the goal, like closer to the goal. Like yes, they have Jason Tatum, they have Marcus Smart, they've got Al Horford still, they've got the tools Jaylen Brown as well. But you gotta have more guys to like help in your interior, and Daniel Tice is not gonna help that. The Miami Heat have more firepower on both sides. You've got Tyler Hero, you got Bam Adebayo, you got uh, Victor Oladipo, which doesn't really play all that much, Kyle Lowry, and you got, to me that just screams known names, known, not no names, known names that people can understand somewhat if they're a NBA fan, and it also, to me, it just screams a lot of talent that could be of good use. And so far, they did that last night by winning by 9 points against the Celtics. And I was honestly surprised that the Celtics got uh, the upper hand on the Milwaukee Bucks. But at the same time, the Milwaukee Bucks were looking kind of like confused out there. But not as
Yeah.
confused as the Phoenix Suns versus the Dallas Mavericks. I watched that game 7 most of the way through, and the Mavericks made it look like they were wanting to be there, and they looked much hungrier than what the Phoenix Suns were putting on the plate. Because the Phoenix Suns played like they were playing a summer game with the rookies. That's how it felt. Chris Paul did not show up. Devin Booker did not show up. Patrick Mahomes
Devin
didn't
Booker
show
was
up.
injured. Devin Booker was injured.
Yeah, kind of. Patrick Mahomes didn't show up to see the game with his homie Travis Kelsey due to maintenance on the plane or what have you. Um, in general, the Suns did not look like the Suns from a year ago against the Milwaukee Bucks. They looked like a different team. And
You mean
Chris
the Dallas
Paul.
Mavericks? You're kind of you're
No,
kind
I'm
of getting
saying. Uh,
your series scrambled.
no. I'm saying because
Unless
Phoenix
you're
Suns
talking from a
versus the
year ago, yeah.
Bucks. Yeah, I said a
Yeah.
year ago. So Milwaukee Bucks versus the Phoenix Suns was a game that they played in the finals last year, so that's what I was
Yeah.
referencing.
Yeah, you were talking about series, yeah.
So like they do not look the same as they did in Game 7 of the series. It looked pitiful, and I do not feel bad for the Suns for losing by like 40 points.
Yeah. But here's where I'm at. A couple of really good series went on with the Dallas Mavericks and Phoenix Suns up until game 7, and then Milwaukee winning that decisively. I was like, Chris Middleton was injured. So Giannis got contained. And basically, Giannis got slowed down simply because the value of a secondary scorer is huge, especially in the playoffs.
Especially if you don't. They didn't have Bobby Portis, did they either? Or was he playing? Because
Oh.
he was a big role model in that finals championship last season.
And here, I'm going to double check the box. I'll double check the box and see if Portis was in.
Because I didn't hear
Um,
anything about Portis. Either he didn't play well or didn't play.
um, he played 22 minutes in Game 7 and only scored 10.
Oof.
And Drew Holiday had 21, but no, Chris Middleton was huge problem for the Bucks. And then you also had Robert Williams as well, who just came back. So I think if Robert Williams can definitely get going, I think the Celtics can come back into this. There's plenty of time. So basically in what we've broken down here is that the update here is that the Celtics advanced over the oh, over the
Over the
Bucks,
Bucks.
and then the Mavericks advanced over the Suns.
Correct.
So now, prognosticators corner time for the NBA playoffs. Who are the two teams that you see going into the NBA finals?
I really want the Warriors to lose. Sorry, Warriors fans, but you've had a good run. You've had a good run with a team that is playing kind of like the glory days of what they were years ago. I really want, because they play the Mavericks. I really want Luka to get his uh taste of what the NBA Finals is like. I also really want to see what him and his other Mavs teammates could do versus the, because it's the Celtics and
The Heat.
the Heat. I really want the Heat to face the Mavs. That'd be an interesting matchup, as that has been a rivalry since the early 2000s, and uh, yeah, I just think that'd be an interesting one, to say the least.
But then who do you have in the you said Heat Mavericks?
Correct.
I would love to see I'd love to see Dallas go in, but I just don't think that they are ready compared to a very experienced Golden State Warriors side. Especially because the Warriors have home floor. I think this hurts. Um I'm I'm going to take the Warriors in 6.
All right. I'm gonna
And
I'm gonna probably do the Mavericks in 6, and then the Celtics versus Heat. I'm gonna say Heat win in 5.
I think that the Heat are much more well rested. Um, but I will say also on top of that that if Robert Williams can get going and keep a lot of the post in check, it's still going to be very much a big Bam Adebayo, like to keep Bam Adebayo in check. It's ultimately going to be Jimmy Butler who is going to pretty much make or break that series. If he chooses make, it could this could be done in 6 games. However, if it's break, I think Boston very well could handle its own in 7. So I am actually going to say it's going to be Warriors Celtics, and I'm going to say the Warriors make it in 6, and then yeah, I'm going to say Celtics in 7.
All right, there you have it.
Yep. And now to transition over to the other winter sport and the NHL semifinals. So the first major things that have kind of come about is that now we have 8 teams left. You have the Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning, the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers, the Rangers stunning the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Colorado Avalanche and the St. Louis Blues, and the Calgary Flames and Edmonton Oilers. So wow, so hard to believe that the Pacific Division currently right now is a battle of Alberta. Current updates on the series at hand. In the Battle of the State of Florida, the Tampa Bay Lightning defeated the Florida Panthers 4-1. The Colorado Avalanche defeated the St. Louis Blues in overtime yesterday, as both of those teams will now have 1-0 series leads. Calgary right now is leading in the Battle of Alberta against the Edmonton Oilers at the end of the first period. And the Carolina Hurricanes beat the New York Rangers 2-1 in overtime, rallying back to score an equalizer in the third period, and then finishing up with a winner in overtime to take it 2-1 at Raleigh. So tomorrow is game 2 between the Blues and Avs and the Lightning and Panthers, and pretty much like in the NBA, they're going to be alternating between these every other day. So now that we've got the current playoff series up to date, let's now go to the NFL. Which story do we want to start with? Or, well, which major thing do we want to start with there? At least on the weekly
we
lineup?
could start with the free agent signings. One of them being Melvin Ingram to the Miami Dolphins for 1 year, $5 million. James Bradbury of the former New York Football Giants is signing with the division rival Philadelphia Eagles.
And the Commanders still have to play him 2 times a year.
And then Jair Alexander signed an extension with the Green Bay Packers.
Yep, and just became the highest paid corner in doing so. Which, for Jair Alexander, as a talented corner, as talented of a corner as he is, he's earned the money, but I don't know if necessarily highest paid because, I mean, there's still this guy, Jalen Ramsey. But Jair is the next young gun corner that has kind of come along.
For some reason, when I hear Jair, I hear Ja Morant, like Ja, but now it's Jair. I don't know. That was cringy. I'm gonna not do that ever again.
Yeah. Let's wait till the Grizzlies are back in season for all of the Ja things.
Ja.
Oh, okay. But NFL officials are scheduling a meeting with Deshaun Watson in Texas this week in relation to the investigation that involves the 22 standing civil lawsuits that are against him. So
which currently at this time before this scheduled meetup, all charges were dropped.
Yeah, I mean, all the criminal ones anyway. But there's still lawsuits, and there's probably still some ramifications to come along. It's probably going to lead to, or at least open a pathway to figure out where Baker Mayfield's not so distant future is going to line up. It's probably going to end up with a 6-game suspension of some sort for Deshaun Watson, and Baker Mayfield becomes a deadline deal.
Yeah, and then so long the insurance commercials at First Energy Stadium.
Yeah, but that was never a progressive thing anyway.
I know, but you don't get to see him getting groceries and then trying to go into the gate to get into the field. You don't see like the big old trash like thing like dumpster of trash where it's like, oh, you just take out the trash and you just casual. I love that scene from the commercials where he's telling the kid that's like house sitting. He's like, this is where you put the trash. The code is this. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where I was like, I made fun of it, or I was kind of saying it wasn't necessarily progressive because they were progressive commercials.
Yeah.
But that was just a bad joke that didn't land. But the most significant news that hits the college sports waves. The NCAA Division One Council has chosen to eliminate the requirements necessary for a college football conference to have a championship game. With that move executed, the Pac 12 has chosen to scrap divisions, which was one of the major restrictions that was in place to make their title game to be the two teams with the best record. So there are two questions that come along with this, Ruckus. And we will start with the first one here. Will every single conference in the FBS take advantage of these restrictions being taken off and have a championship game? Do
Personally,
you
I the Big 12 already does it, and when it comes to like basketball, like I know this is a different subject, but like basketball just has that kind of bracket system where it was like, okay, you face the teams in your conference.
well,
Um,
they have conference tournaments anyway.
yeah, and then as far as football, it's probably a good thing that they don't have those brackets like they do in basketball, but I feel like it probably makes it things a lot easier and simpler because then you just face the two teams because like I believe during COVID there was like a whole thing where you had like have a certain amount of wins to like even think about going to the FBS playoffs or whatever it was.
Or just even a bowl game.
Right.
But bowl games have always had the eligibility by wins requirement.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like it makes more sense just to have the two best teams in that conference face each other, and then whatever team, because like from my understanding with college football is the better the team is, the better the chances are of getting higher up and going into the national championship game. And in general, like if you're a team that was like above average, you'd probably go to a bowl game, but it wouldn't be like one of the big known ones. It'd probably be like Papa John's Pizza Bowl or uh, AutoZone Oil Bowl or just like things like from companies like Chick-fil-A and things of that nature.
Oh, don't get me wrong, that Chick-fil-A bowl is a good thing.
What was the thing that Chick-fil-A advertised last college season? Weren't
I'm
they
not
part of
sure.
like the weren't they part of like the like a big FBS thing?
Oh,
I don't really pay
they're
much attention to college
usually
football.
they're usually like one of the later bowl. They're usually like one of the New Year's Eve type of bowl games normally.
Yeah.
But where my take on this is I think every single conference is going to capitalize on this.
Oh,
Now that
most
you've got
definitely.
now that you've got the two best teams in your conference, especially ones that don't have divisions or certain things of those nature, maybe even having some teams with less than 12 possibly having a championship game, you could see some of these conferences now taking advantage of it. I mean, the Big 12 is now about to expand into having enough teams to have to to where it would have made it even if they didn't relax it.
I
But
mean,
I think
in
this now
general,
puts
back in the day, it was just in general with the sure amount of the best two teams facing each other has been around in pretty much every sport whenever they first did like championship games and stuff like that. Even like Major League Baseball and the NFL did that. So I mean, it makes sense to like, especially if teams are moving around to different conferences, it makes sense to like disable those restrictions as far as the divisions, because it makes things less complicated and it makes it easier to understand for not only the fan but like just in general. It just makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to take advantage of. But now, because of those restrictions, especially regarding divisions being relaxed, we just saw the Pac-12 do this. Do the ACC, Big Ten, and SEC follow the Pac-12's lead?
um
The ACC has the Atlantic and the Coastal Division. The Big 12 is East West. The SEC is East West.
I feel like either it's obviously up to those conferences whether or not they want to, which is a no no dip Sherlock kind of deal, but
Yeah.
like uh I think it's possible. I'm not going to say that they're going to do it or not going to do it. I'm going to beat around the bush on this one because I am honestly not sure, because of the fact that I don't know many teams that are in it. Like the SEC is Alabama, LSU, and Clemson, I'm pretty sure. I don't
No,
know.
Clemson's an ACC team.
There you go. That tells you my knowledge of college football. um, I know like the colleges, I just don't know their conferences for some dumb reason. Alabama and
Yeah,
LSU are known ones I know of for the
yeah, yeah,
SEC.
they're SEC West. Yeah, and then you have on the East pretty much Florida and Georgia.
I mean, it'd probably be more interesting for the SEC not to do the best two teams, but at the same time, they're gonna do it anyways. As far as like rivalry games that they have, I feel like it all just depends on what they want to do at the end of the day. That's the
As
beat around the bush answer right there.
I'm gonna say this, as far as whether or not divisions will get scrapped, I think the ACC does and the Big Ten does, but the SEC does not. Now, hear me out.
Makes sense.
I think the SEC does not because number one, they're definitely like a blue blood like in terms of this system.
Right.
Number two, generally more times than not, especially now over the last few years, the two best teams in the SEC have been on opposite sides already. And currently, right now, those two teams are Alabama and Georgia.
Correct.
So they are already locking horns right now as is.
And like LSU at one point or another, when they get back to being good again, will be on that. And Auburn too, right? Aren't they an SEC?
Auburn Auburn's an SEC West team as well. So there's plenty to go around with the SEC. It's just a matter of who's going to get there. And especially with them adding Texas and Oklahoma, causing them to have to restructure a little bit of that East West for them. I don't think that I don't think the SEC has to do something or make really any major changes until Texas and Oklahoma come in.
Right.
So I think they'll leave it as it is. I think they'll leave it as it is for now. But if those rules remain relaxed later on, I could see them making a move. And now that we've gone into a little bit more of what the future is holding for college football, let's turn back the clock and look into the past. Going
Do you
into
want me
sport
to talk
history.
about it? the sports
Oh,
history?
oh, we'll go through this here.
All right,
All of
sorry.
these events happened on May 18th, and all of them are baseball related. Now, Ruckus, I'm sure you know that Mickey Mantle was a switch hitter.
Yes.
Could And I'm sure that you've heard of switch hitters being able to hit home runs from both sides. More oftentimes than not, you typically will hear a switch hitter have a contact side and a power side.
Right.
But for but on this day in 1956, Mickey Mantle hit home runs from both sides of the plate for the third time.
Which most recently was Anthony Rendon hitting uh lefty last week when he usually hits
No, but
righty.
here's the thing. There's a little bit of a difference. Same game. It has to be done in the same game for this to count.
Okay, I didn't know if it really mattered, but yeah, I see your point. I see your point.
Yeah, from hitting from both sides of the plate, you have to be capable of doing this readily in a game. It's not like Anthony Rendon's just up here like, oh, I'm just gonna have fun and bat this left-handed just because.
I'm just gonna bat left-handed with no one around.
Yeah, yeah, what I'm talking about here is just it's not willy-nilly that Mickey Mantle did that. It
Right,
wasn't like it wasn't like on the whim that it's like, oh, somebody's gonna be throwing a slow ball. Let's see what I can do with it.
right.
Or we're up by like a ton. But I'm sure that there's like a whole bunch of ways for a pitcher to be called for a balk. And I'm sure but no one so far has been able to match this record. On this day in 1988, Oakland A's pitcher Dave Stewart balked for the 12th time in a season. This became the major league record, and Dave Stewart ultimately finished that season with 16 balks.
Which and the I'm sure if the GM of the Oakland A's at that time, if there was a thing called designation for excitement, or not excitement, designation for assignment, he'd probably be excited to cut him off at that point
I
near the
don't
end of
know.
the season.
Hard to tell because normally I think Dave Stewart was also decent, and then the A's were already at a point in that for a World Series. But a balk is just a simple like mechanical thing, like something just kind of went wrong. But
True story. I just don't know how often pitchers balk, but apparently Dave Stewart was
well,
pretty
Dave
good at
Stewart that
that.
season, well, that Dave Stewart that season, I think was also one that kind of got caught a lot more times than not.
Yeah.
But the most interesting piece of sport history came in 2004. At 40 years young, Randy Johnson became the 16th pitcher to throw a perfect game in a 2-0 victory over the Atlanta Braves. As at the 40-year mark, he became the oldest to throw a perfect game, but he was also the tallest player to do so. The question to you, Ruckus: how tall is Randy Johnson?
7 foot.
Almost 6'10".
Mm. I was gonna. My first original thought was 6'5", but then I was like, there's no way. So I just
Randy
went,
Johnson is 6'10".
yeah. They don't call him the unit for nothing. That's for sure.
Pigeon killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have not seen that video where Randy Johnson can kill a pigeon with his own fastball, then you're missing out on some shocking and very, very quick deaths of birds.
That also reminds me of like that random gif of Darth Vader using his lightsaber to hit a baseball from a stormtrooper, and then it gets destroyed into and puts a hole into like the dome that they're hitting at.
Oh my. Yeah. All right. So I'm sure that we've left out one major detail in our news stories. And this is why, because it is our high heat for the week. Ruckus, go ahead and give it to him.
All right, so the high heat for this week, we have the NFL schedule release, which was last Thursday,
Pretty
and
pretty much the day after we got off the air. It was like within like 20 hours after we were off the recording waves.
right, um, the notable games and matchups from this our schedule. I had, since I am a big Chiefs fan, go Chiefs. How about those Chiefs? Um, we are going. My notable games were the Super Bowl 55 rematch at Raymond James Stadium against the Buccaneers. It'll probably be one of the last few times that we see Brady, knock on wood, uh, playing against Patrick Mahomes, unless he goes to the Fountain of Youth for like the 10th or 12th time, give or take. Uh, the LA Rams Monday Night Football rematch at Arrowhead Stadium, GEHA at Arrowhead, mind you. Um, and then the two times we'll face the Raiders, where it'll be Devontae Adams versus Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Hmm.
Uh, and we'll play them twice, so we get to see who gets the better of the two. And fun fact, Devontae Adams and Derek Carr were teammates at Fresno State in college.
Yeah. Well, here's some of the fun things, especially when it comes to the networks that will be broadcasting the football games. If you want to talk about getting a raw end of the deal when it came to jumping ship from your network,
Hold on. Don't don't make this a bigger deal than it needs to be, because to be honest, I feel like this is a good thing.
Monday Night Football got nowhere near as good of a game compared to Thursdays or Sunday nights. This left Joe Buck and Troy Aikman to have a few more lackluster games to commentate on.
Boo hoo.
Well, I mean, granted that this may be more of a net positive, it's not necessarily why I was saying this. It's like the best games that they're going to get like early on, more than likely they're going to be at the 7:15 game in week 2 where they get the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills. So you're going to have to deal with Buck and Aikman somewhere along the line. But that's why the Manning cast is there.
You know, I feel like, honest to God, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck could have been on just straight up Amazon, because like Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels are part of the Amazon Thursday night, correct?
Yeah. But here's
I
the
was just
thing,
trying
they
to double check.
also get Buck and Aikman are also going to get Broncos Chargers in week 6. They're going to get 49ers Cardinals in week 11 in Mexico City. They're going to get a Rams Packers matchup late in the year, and the last game they're going to have is Bills Bengals. So they're not necessarily getting the rawest end of the deal, but they are not getting stuff that is anywhere near as good or as intriguing. But I think they've also kind of got some fair trade. There was a little bit of fair trade as well with the Thursday night stuff for Amazon Prime kicking off with a bang in the Chargers and Chiefs.
Cannot wait for that. I love Al Michaels to a T. I love how I not only like him as a commentator, he was also good in some other movies that I've seen, like Basketball.
Yep.
I just love his voice. Chris Collingsworth, I know how much you hate him. I think he's tolerable to a certain amount, but I get where
Well,
you're coming from with the cringe worth.
Cringsworth, yep. But
Yeah,
Al Michaels is being paired with Kirk Herbstreit for these.
and I haven't really heard Kirk Herbstreit talk since like waking up in the morning near the time my dad does for the Saturday morning college football talk that they would have.
Oh, but
So it'll be a while.
here are some fun ones for the that Al Michaels and Herbstreit will get. They will get Ravens Buccaneers in week 8. They'll get Titans Packers in week 11. They get Bills Patriots in week 13. Raiders and Rams on week 14. I mean, they get a couple of, and week 17 they get Cowboys and Titans. I mean, they get a couple stinkers with the Jaguars and the Jets. But I mean, isn't it a little bit better that you're going to have Al Michaels commentate a game, like commentate a stinker, yet still have some sort of fun?
Right. I feel like no matter what, you're gonna have a game that isn't gonna be as good to commentate on in general.
And then the opening weekend for the NBC crew kicks off with a bang. You get Bills, Rams, and Buccaneers, Cowboys within 3 days of each other. And that Chiefs Bucks game you were talking about is on Sunday Night Football.
Correct.
Bengals and Ravens, Packers, Bills, Titans, Chiefs, Bengals, Steelers. I mean, there's a Chiefs Broncos game in there.
And a Buffalo Bills Chiefs game, which is on CBS.
I mean, that's a CBS game. I mean,
Right.
that's going to be Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. And then the Battle for
boy.
Los Angeles on Sunday Night Football on New Year's Day. So I'm going to say this Sunday night, that is now prime time for football. Like just football. I mean, they've put Sunday night back as the ultimate game to watch on a football week. And you gotta love the sound of that.
Oh yeah, I feel like it would have been a major can. I feel like this is a major can of whoop ass from NBC versus the ESPN side of things. Yes, if you do the Monday night tune-ins, you could go and see Eli and Peyton shoot it up and just talk just randomness slash also
or throw double birds.
Yeah, there you go. But like I really love the highlights I see for the Peyton and Eli show. I would also rather just watch Peyton and Eli versus Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I feel like a lot of people could agree on that. But I'm not gonna try and beat a dead horse too much with that. I'm really excited to see how Amazon does with Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. I'm excited to see how the new duo performs with
Fox.
Well, not just Fox, but like I was talking about NBC. I just couldn't.
Well, NBC's just getting one new member. They still have Cringsworth. You still have Collinsworth over there. It's just Tirico coming in. It's Tirico. So we already know what we're getting out of Tirico anyway, and it's pretty good.
I thought they also had a female analyst in the mix too.
I mean, I think Michelle, unless Michelle Tafoya retired, I think she's still out on the field.
Yeah, because in my thoughts, I thought I heard something around on a notification on my phone, something about a female anchor being with Mike Tirico. I didn't know if Collingsworth was even still there, but now that you tell me, that makes more sense. But either way, it'll be awesome to see how that goes. I'm more excited about the Amazon stuff, but it'll be interesting. Fox will be very interesting as well. They got Greg Olson.
Yeah.
And Kirk Herbstreit as well.
Oh no, not Kirk Herbstreit. It's a different guy. It's a different
Oh,
guy for
not
that.
Kirk Herbstreit. God, what is his name?
I can't. Yeah, I can't remember that one right off, but it's at least a new Mike Burkhardt or something like that.
Yeah, Burkhardt, Kevin Burkhardt. That's what
Kevin
I was
Burkhardt.
thinking.
Yeah.
Why did I think Why did I think Curve Herbstreit? I guess because they both start with the K.
We're getting our Kevin's, Kirks, and Kermits mixed up.
It ain't easy being green, but here we go.
Well, it ain't easy. It ain't easy being a sport commentator that starts with the letter K either. But Ruckus, who are some teams that may surprise you this season, and teams that may disappoint based on schedule placement and some of these other little nuances?
To be honest
And
with you, the Chiefs have not only the hardest schedule, but they're also being dumped on by a lot of sports analysts at ESPN and just in general other places like CPS. There was one that was talking about the Bills going all in and possibly going to the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs maybe possibly missing their second Super Bowl in a row after losing the AFC Championship last season to the to the Cincinnati Bengals. Um, yeah, I my main snoozer I would say would have to be probably either the Bills or possibly even the Broncos. Who knows? We'll have to see how the season goes here soon in the next few months. As it doesn't even start till September, but yeah, this is just early stuff here. What do you think, Spenis?
well, as far as the toughest schedule, NFL.com has Pittsburgh at 1, but the strength of schedule still says that the Los Angeles Rams have the toughest schedule. But the Chiefs were also tied for 5th. We're tied for 5th in that list. So my few things are, I think the Commanders could very well be a surprise team. But there will be 4 teams that they will face that will have 10 or more days rest in between their last game and when they are scheduled to face the Commanders, which may put them at a huge disadvantage. I think the Eagles could win the NFC East, which is scary.
They gotta stay healthy though, but that goes for any team, to be honest. But I don't know. Carson Wentz, I mean, you got a point with like the Eagles possibly taking out Carson Wentz and the Commanders, but you never know how the NFL season happens until things unfold, which is like literally with any other sport. But the NFL has surprised me before when it came to doing picks in my local works little uh little like potluck, I guess you could say, or pot, where the person that guesses the most teams that win that week wins. But honestly, I've been surprised, and it's very hit or miss what happens. You never know. The Commanders could probably go to the playoffs again this year and get farther than they ever have been, or they could simply uh just pretend like they're a football team and win a couple of games and then have a throwaway season. You never know. And that could happen to anybody. It could happen to the Chiefs. It almost looked like that last year for the Chiefs in weeks 1 through 4. You never know.
I have also on my list that the Chiefs could disappoint, but that is more so because of the competition in the AFC West ramping up. I still feel that the AFC North is still a competitive division, and even the NFC West, but teams like Pittsburgh and Seattle will continue to be behind the 8 ball. Seattle just simply because they went through a major fire sale, and Pittsburgh because Big Ben retired, and there's new quarterbacks that will be hitting the ground running, and it's hard to tell what we're really going to get out of them.
Yeah, and to that note with the Chiefs, I'm sorry if I keep interrupting or whatever, but
Oh no, I stopped.
um, I'm gonna be honest with the Chiefs fans around here. It seems like every year we get super lucky with either someone getting injured or getting arrested or what have you. Last year it was the Raiders with Henry Ruggs getting arrested for a DUI and now is in prison in prison somewhere for the most of his life. Which means we had less to worry about, but now we have Devontae Adams uh, with the Raiders, and yes, they have a semi decent pass rush. I don't know if that means they're going to be better than they were last year, but they could improve a little bit because they also have Max Crosby. As far as the Chargers go, they definitely upgraded a little bit on their outside defense D line when it comes to the corner position and the linebacker position with Khalil Mack. You got Joey Bosa. You have
Derwin
more.
James.
Yeah, and then you also have the re-signing of Williams
Oh yeah,
with.
Mike Williams. Yeah, so
Yeah,
the Chargers are.
I was struggling to figure out his first name, but like Mike Williams being a big one. And then as far as the Broncos, they have Russell Wilson. We still have yet to know whether or not he's still going to produce the way he kind of did earlier with the Seahawks in his career
Oh,
with the Super Bowl
oh,
run.
Denver's gonna let him cook. Denver's gonna let him cook.
But yeah, I personally I feel like it's going to be an interesting year, but I feel like the same narrative is going to be there with a little bit of difficulty. Yes, Patrick Mahomes from week 1 to 4 was very more like a ca- character that just didn't look like he was being himself or like the Pat Mahomes we knew and love. But he also was dealing with growing pains with the offensive line. And now this season he's going to be dealing with some, I guess you could say, growing pains with the new wide receivers he's got. He doesn't have D-Rob anymore, which honestly I thought uh, was a bottleneck in our offense. Tyreek Hill, yes, he is not with us anymore, but we have Juju Smith-Schuster, which is a tall wide receiver that can also catch the damn ball.
So
And
long as you keep him off TikTok.
who cares about TikTok? In my opinion, um, I could honestly I could give zero like attention to TikTok as far as what the players do. That is their thing. They are not real. Anyways, Juju, as far as wide receiver, he's really good. We also have a bunch of other rookies and undrafted free agents. Like recently, Justin Ross was signed, and he has good potential. You have Corey Coleman, which is a former Brown, and another former Brown in Josh Gordon, who played with who signed early in the season, and I feel like we've improved a little bit as far as that. We got Sky Moore in the draft. I think he'll do wonders, and we upgraded a little bit in running back and got some looks at cornerback depth, safety depth, like for front strong, and our linebacker core is getting better. Leo Chenal, I'm very excited to see how he does. Brian Cook, I'm excited to see what he does. I, honest to God, think the Chiefs are going to be a bit stronger than they were last season. Our defense has always been pretty bad, as far as just showing up or how they look on paper versus teams in the bright lights. But when it gets the down and dirty of what matters, we manage. And that's all I'm going to say. Because it'll be a while till the season starts and we'll have more to talk about. But I honest to God think the Chiefs will be just fine.
All right. But kind of end this on a little bit of a lighter take. Last but not least, the NFL schedule release video kind of caught traction amongst just about every single team this season. Which one stood out?
I'm going to be honest, I loved the anime themed one for the Chargers. I also liked the Twitter joke for comparing quarterbacks that the Chargers did, where they made fun of Tua pretty much by making his Pop Tart flavor the fish uh artificial fish marbles that you'd see in like a fish tank. That would be like the filling inside the Pop Tart, which I thought was funny, but also it's kind of disgusting. I liked the Kyler Murray thing where they did like the little Pop Tart bits, like the bites, because he's super tiny. And then I think they put Patrick Mahomes as like the original strawberry flavor. I'm not entirely sure, but I
Wait,
loved the comparisons with Pop Tarts.
wait, was this for the Chargers schedule or
No, it was for comparing quarterbacks, like I was saying on
oh, like
Twitter. Yeah, they just had
I was saying like the
memes.
anime. Oh yeah, the anime theme one. It was funny because I was like, okay, they had the Cleveland Browns one with the redacted, with the redacted among advice from the lawyers. The Antonio Brown's helmets in the trash in the dumpster during the second thing with Raiders. Oh man, there were so many good jokes that
I
were
liked,
shot, but it was the most impressive one was the Chargers with the anime theme.
yes, most definitely. They put a lot of effort into theirs. I also liked the Andy Reid one where he names off the Chiefs' uh, opponents and also his like takes on it. But yeah, I will definitely agree that the Chargers put a lot of emphasis and detail into hyping up for their schedule release with the anime characters. I thought that was very creative. That is something I haven't seen in a long time.
Here were a few that really stuck out with me. I actually am going to go with another team in the AFC West, and I'm not talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought the Denver Broncos one was hilarious, where
Please,
it was
please explain.
where the Peyton Manning, like the previous year, like Peyton Manning was, of course, like the intern in Denver, in Denver, kind of going through the reveal of the schedule. Now that Russell Wilson is coming to town, Peyton was passing the torch to the newest intern, Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson just handled everything with this like a champ. And it like just a whole bunch of different little like fun things that were thrown Russ's way. And Russ is just one of those guys that would take a whole bunch of fun like that in stride.
He's such a chill, down to earth dude too.
Yeah. Another one that really stuck out, the Lions, where they had the acronym of DUST, like the Detroit Urban Survival Training, where they go through each particular NFL schedule thing that they have. It's like, when dealing with this, you do this. And it was something like ridiculous, like a survival tactic move ordeal of what you would teach in a self-defense class
I
in
mean, there's not
relation to,
much defense or really any offense going with the Lions, but that's hearsay at this point,
yeah.
Your Honor.
Oh god. Um the Seahawks one was good because a fake schedule kind of was passed around like members of the team. All of a sudden to find out that the person who initially spread the rumor of it just got punked.
I loved the rumors that came out just in general about games that are happening before like the schedule's released, and then it turns out that most of them weren't real.
Yeah.
Just in
Yeah,
general.
that's what the Seahawks did. I love the Cam Hayward schedule protector thing from Pittsburgh, where basically it was almost like a Terry Tate office linebacker kind of setup, where just Cam Hayward is just protecting the schedule to prevent it from leaking. Um, the Cowboys understood the assignment too. I know I'm the Commanders were okay with their like breaking things and slow motion, but the Cowboys to get Stephen A. Smith onto their thing, have him go through his usual Cowboys are an accident waiting to happen spiel. Cut him off before he even gets started. Before he even gets like heavily too far into it. And then just edit everything around so that it's like the usual Cowboys delusion that kind of comes around. I found that to be funny. Like it was it was really good.
First off,
But
I
the
thought you were gonna say something like to make it sound like Stephen A. Smith was hypnotized by Jerry Jones to be
ultimately it just really seemed like that. It just seemed like that, but it was like the editing just twisted everything that Stephen A said.
yeah.
But however, I love, and this is a really good thing. I love what the Titans did with their schedule release video. Like they unveiled their games, but they gave like a whole like breakdown of all these black owned businesses, and they will be using their home games to really help benefit these businesses that they had in their release video. And that to me just was a very admirable, like it was like the most admirable thing that was done throughout that entire run of just their schedule release. It was long, but it was one of those things where it's like, oh, they're emphasizing more so the businesses that they are supporting throughout this
Yeah.
entire thing.
I don't mind it when people want to support small businesses and what have you. It doesn't matter where what region. Little things like that where you can try and get people to come on board with the same motive you have as far as supporting like businesses that you are inspired by or just know and love. It really helps out those small businesses.
Oh, definitely. Like it's really nice to also support small businesses as you can too. Just because sometimes, especially even when it comes to food, sometimes the small businesses will fire something off and make it so much better than what a chain restaurant would.
Most definitely.
But now that we've gotten through our high heat, we now have the simulation. And MLB The Show has been on their game. And of course, they had another moonshot weekend. And now this isn't moonshot. And then a big dog program that featured an 88 overall Tony Perez and choice packs from the respective big dog sets. Uh, they just unveiled the always intense base sets on Twitter. The main monthly awards legend is Jim Rice. New Tops Now stuff's arrived. But now's the time we actually will get to update our progress here. So how are you kind of looking throughout all of your time on MLB The Show. What all are you currently working on?
All right. Let's get into the nitty gritty. So, what I've been working on is mainly Conquest, but also doing mini seasons for leveling up hitters, mainly like for Ty France on the monthly hitter. I did the mini seasons so that I could eventually get through my mini season I was currently on and get through the championship and get the extra cards. As far as pitching, like if it was like the starting pitching or just in general bullpen pitching, you don't necessarily want to play mini seasons because then your the stamina on your pitchers go down because they go by game on mini seasons versus on conquest it's just a matchup. It's more like an exhibition versus like an actual season. So I've been doing when it I've been doing a lot of challenges for the monthly still for April, but I got through the monthlies for May as far as the moments and collecting the cards for now. I'm still trying to get Andre Dawson through the pipeline and get his XP all sorted out to get the Anthony Rizzo card. But yeah, other than that, I've been playing mini seasons and a little bit of conquest here and there just to get some extra cards so I could either find duplicates that I can sell off for a lot of stubs or trying to get more diamond players because there are some diamond players out there on the marketplace that are very expensive, even probably worth more than a standard Xbox Series S. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. So where I'm at right now, I have Rizzo now. I have Rizzo. I am now working on wrapping up monthly awards. I am trying to get as many packs as I possibly can to wrap up the spring cleanup program. My next one's a 5. I'm on a 5 bundle. Then I have a 3. Then another 3 ball in. Then I have a pretty much if I were to eventually get to the end, I have like at least like I'm now into the final packs for the for MLB or like this program. I'm in just the gravy.
Yeah, and I really just want to get the big dog card for Bobby Witt for his prospect card.
Just a heads up, I believe that's also a rare round card, so good luck.
I mean, I could buy it right now on the marketplace if I really
Yeah,
wanted to,
that's probably true. Yeah, that's probably true.
but I'm
But
tempted, dog. I'm tempted.
here is where we're at. In 2 days, a new program that is only 2 weeks long will begin. SDS throughout this week has put together like multiple ciphers, including one that says this program is about a legend and his mates, and has unveiled a couple of the lower overall cards and now actually some higher overall ones. Um, so here's the fun part about this: Ryan Howard, Carlos Delgado, Shane Victorino, and Roy Oswalt were some of the players that were thrown into this program. Think you got a clue as to who that legend is, Ruckus?
I would have to say Roy the Doc Holiday. Rest
My
in
hunch,
peace.
yes, my hunch is Doc Roy Holiday. That's who I think is going to be the main piece of this headline program. And I think the one that ultimately like really gave away that it was going to be Halliday, or at least that Halliday was a possibility, was Carlos Delgado. If it were if they left it at Ryan Howard, and then maybe revealed Utley or or Victorino, like well before they got to Delgado, they could have very well led us to like Jimmy Rollins or Chase Utley. They could have left us on a little bit of a different rabbit trail. But once Delgado was out, Halliday was the was the name that ultimately stuck out.
I'm excited to see how they implement Doc Holliday into the game, because whenever I saw Randy Johnson was coming in at the beginning of the game's release, I was excited, and then I saw his whole animation, and I kind of was uh just turned around, but at the same time, we'll just see what happens. I
Oh, but
still
that
want to.
card, but that any of those Randy Johnsons are busted though because the velo's high, the slider moves so well laterally, the slurve. Oh yeah, there's going to be definitely a whole bunch of different things that
I really want to get that signature series Randy Johnson card, because I went for Vladimir Guerrero Senior instead of Randy Johnson just because I wanted Vlad Guerrero at the beginning for my Diamond Dynasty.
I took Randy Johnson. I eventually got Vlad, but I know that as far as collections, I'm only through a third of them for right now. But I've also been like more so saving up stubs, so I'm not spending stubs or flipping things for stubs to fill out those collections. I haven't really had the opportunity to go to really do what pack people say is go fishing. I mean, I have things to fish with, and plus I also have a opportunity at a big dog pack as well that I haven't opened. But that's because I'm also again trying to get more packs. But now I'm going to transition us to, since we were talking about players and their mates earlier when I was revealing stuff about the program, I kind of came up with the idea of this week's War Room being a teammate challenge. Both of us came up with 3 players that were set to a specific team. All of the players had to have played together on that team, and the keyword here being together for at least a season. We must name, once the teammates are given, we have to name the team. For example, Pedro Martinez, Kurt Schilling, Johnny Damon. All 3 of them were members of the team or were teammates at the same time as part of the Boston Red Sox. The cutoff that we had, and we decided to do a cutoff, is from 1990 to the present. So, Ruckus, who would you like to have go first?
Let's do. You can go first.
Okay, so am I receiving first or giving first?
Giving the question first.
Okay. So the first one that I am going to give you is Nathan Eovaldi, Mark Burley, Jose Reyes.
The Los Angeles Dodgers.
Incorrect. That is those 3 were members of the 2012 Miami Marlins. They all 3 played for the 2012 Miami Marlins.
All right. Now I'll give you a very difficult one. Jim Thome, Marlon Byrd, AJ Hinch.
AJ Hinch. Tommy notably, and the key thing here that I'm looking at is that Tommy played for at least three different teams in his career.
Uh-huh.
And here it would be either the Cleveland Guardians, the Philadelphia Phillies, or the Chicago White Sox. So really the linchpin that I'm looking at here is Jim Thome. Marlon Bird. I'm gonna say I think this is the Phillies.
Yes, it was. In 2004, Philadelphia Phillies.
The 2004 Philadelphia Phillies. Yep. All right. Eric Davis, Mike Mussina, Roberto Alomar.
I'm gonna say that is the Atlanta Braves.
Incorrect. All three of these guys were members of the 1997 Baltimore Orioles. Roberto Alomar journeyed over from Toronto. Eric Davis came over from Cincinnati, and Mike Mussina was there. Started out there in Baltimore. That was the one that I kind of like clue hopped with you earlier. And here was the thing. A notable centerpiece that I left off. I will say this. I also left off a lot of key centerpieces. From that 2012 Miami Marlins team, I left off Giancarlo Stanton. And for that 97 Baltimore Orioles team, I also left off Cal Ripken Jr. That 97 Orioles team was a Ripken team.
All right, here is my next one. This is staying with MLB. Cal Aldred, Jason Isringhausen, and Joe Girardi.
The linchpin player I am looking at and trying to figure this out. Actually, Joe Girardi. But Isringhausen could be another direction that I would look at. My big thing is that this is with Joe Girardi as a player.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think Moneyball kind of helps me out with this one. I think this is. I think if I believe this is, if I'm going to believe this a certain way, I believe this is the New York Yankees.
Incorrect. It is a St. Louis Cardinals of 2003.
Oh, wow. Wow, I forgot that Girardi got traded over. That Girardi left New York. Because I knew there was something with Isringhausen. Because Isringhausen was Oakland, but then went from Oakland to St. Louis. I figured that was probably like I knew that I was all of a sudden a bridge, but I completely did not. I was more so I saw where the two sides of Girardi and Isringhausen were, but I didn't realize that they both would bridge and meet at the same place. So that was pretty good. All right, this one is an NFL one. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Bernard Pollard, Kenny Britt.
Kenny who?
Kenny Britt.
Let's go with good golly. Let's go with the Miami Dolphins.
Incorrect. This is the 2013 Tennessee Titans. I used Ryan Fitzpatrick for this simply because he was a journeyman. I I linchpinned it on Ryan Fitzpatrick because he was such a journeyman that you almost didn't know which team I was going to pick from Ryan Fitzpatrick.
All right, this one will also be an NFL question. You have Wes Welker, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, and Eric Decker.
This one was a little too easy. This one's the Denver Broncos.
2013 Denver Broncos.
Yeah, that one. The degree of difficulty was a little bit lower. All right, here's the next one. Michael Vick, D'Angelo Williams, Darius Hayward Bay.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
You're in the right state, but the wrong team. That is the 2015 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ah, oh, dang it.
Michael Vick, for a good bit of a time, was a Philadelphia Eagle, but he wrapped up a good bit of time as a backup quarterback in Pittsburgh. There, D'Angelo Williams was a running back, and Hayward was one of the receivers.
All right, this next one is going to be sticking with the NFL.
Okay.
And that is DeShone Kizer, Corey Coleman, and Jason McCourty.
You said DeShone Kizer, Jason McCourty, and who was the second one?
Corey Coleman.
For the longest time, DeShone Kizer was a Cleveland Brown. I'm gonna kick myself if this one's not the one I think it. If this ends up being the way that I thought it was, I'm gonna say the Tennessee Titans.
Incorrect. It is the Cleveland Browns.
The Cleveland Browns. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how Jason McCourty ever ended up being a Cleveland Brown.
I can't believe I got I got two of my questions to get you to be wrong this time around. Usually you're like on the money. I made them difficult enough.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is that I think in this instance, it's like I knew that DeShone Kizer was only a Cleveland Brown, but I'm like Jason McCourty. I didn't think that Jason McCourty was ever a Cleveland Brown. So
neither did I.
So I'm bridging. So it's like I am bridging. I'm bridging it right, or I'm having the right idea bridging it. It's just not realizing where certain players moved when, which can sometimes be a very, very difficult thing. All right, the NBA. Lou Williams, Trevor Ariza, Ryan Anderson.
Williams, Trevor Ariza, and Ryan Anderson. Man, that one's tough.
Now, this is one where Lou Williams and Ariza were teammates on two separate or on another occasion other than this. The key thing is, and I'll tell you where the linchpin as far as that affects the answer to this, is Ryan Anderson.
Yeah, because I'm thinking the Pelicans, but I don't know.
Oh.
Miami Heat.
No! This is the 2016-2017 Houston Rockets.
Oh.
Williams and Ariza were also teammates for the Clippers at one point in time, but the linchpin of Ryan Anderson. Anderson was a Pelican, but Anderson then, in a certain deal, was also traded to the Rockets.
All right. Okay, I'm going to stick. Well, let's go to the NBA for your next one. All right. So this goes. The first one is Ben Wallace, Delonte West, and Mo Williams.
I know Wallace was one, but I can't remember if these other two also were along with this. Because I know that the 2003-2004 Detroit Pistons were a good amount of ex-Wizards. My biggest thing is were Delonte West and Mo Williams also at one point Wizards? No. No, because Ben Wallace. The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Correct. This was the 2008 squad, and that also featured LeBron.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I started with Ben Wallace as kind of like the pin that I was looking at. I'm like, wait. Now if you would have said that, of course, with Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, and Richard Hamilton, all three of them, I don't think were very much at the same time, but they all three were ex-Wizards. I'm like, Wallace was an ex-Wizard. Like, no. Like, no. Mo Williams and Delonte West weren't ex-Wizards. They were Cavs guards.
Yeah.
Okay. Vince Carter, Steve Nash, Robin Lopez.
Vince Carter, Steve Nash, and Robin Lopez. I'm gonna go Phoenix Suns.
Hey, he got one.
Yeah, it was like there's no way because like Steve Nash was on the Lakers, the Suns, and the Dallas Mavericks, where he
Yep.
started his career.
Yep. And I pretty much centered myself with that around the journeyman career of Vince Carter, which really also led to pretty much also having another piece in the journeyman career of Robin Lopez.
All
All
right,
right.
here
So
is
all
the
right, so we
next
are at
one.
round 6. Round 6, my turn.
All right, I'm going to do the NFL again. All right,
Okay. So this is my third NFL.
so John McGraw, Jared Allen, Brody Croyle.
The linchpin piece I have with this is the piece that's going to help me define the answer is going to be Jared Allen. I'm going to say all three of these guys were teammates on the Chiefs.
Correct.
And I will say this to you. Notably, I did not give you Commanders one. I did not give you a single Commanders one. But I figured I'm like, with Jared Allen, it's like it's either going to be Kansas City or
Or
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yep. All right. This one here, Bobby Witt Sr. Bobby Witt Sr., Craig Counsell, and Steve Finley.
Texas Rangers.
Nope. If I would have added the names Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling.
That would have been
Would
the
that have...
Marlins.
No! Add Luis Gonzalez.
I blanked. I'm sorry.
This is the world champion.
Oh, Arizona Diamondbacks.
2001 Arizona Diamondbacks.
Oops.
The world champion 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks.
I can sense the frustration.
I'm like, I gave you the 2 World Series co-MVPs and the person who hit the game with the series winner, and you still didn't get it. Man.
All right, this next one is going to be.
And that was your third baseball one, by the way.
Yeah, I did. All right, here is the third baseball one I'm going to give you. John Buck, Tony Graffanino, and Mark Grudzielanek.
You said John Buck,
Mm-hmm.
Tony Graffanini, and Mark Grudzielanek.
Yep.
Oh, you had to bring out the really obscure ones for this one. The biggest thing I have to figure out, I'm working on figuring out here, is I'm trying to bridge Graffanini and Grudzielanek together. And the first team that kind of comes to mind here is the Montreal Expos.
Incorrect.
Okay.
It was the 2006 Kansas City Royals.
Wow. I was not sure that they would have been playing in 2006. I was looking somewhere along the lines of like maybe a mid to late 90s Montreal Expos team. But I was not realizing that Buck was going to do anything that Buck had anything to do with that. They were like, these guys were like deep in the well. I mean, I was at least giving you stuff that was not hugely deep in the well. Like notable names that maybe were early in a career or journeyed over. But I'm already up by like 3 or 4 anyway, so. All right. This one here is round 8, and this is your third NFL one. Orlando Pace, Greg Olson, Matt Forte.
I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers.
No. The Pancake Man only played for 2 teams in his career. Matt Forte only played for really predominantly 2 teams in his career. Neither of them were Carolina Panthers. This is the Bears. of
Mm,
2009. This is the Chicago Bears. Greg Olson, early in Greg Olson's career.
all right. This is the third of the NBA.
Okay.
All right. Chris Childs, Larry Johnson, Marcus Camby.
This maybe was a little bit more toward the late 90s or early 2000s, but all three of them were New York Knicks.
Correct.
Yeah, that one was a little easy because Larry Johnson, it either would have been a Charlotte Hornet or a New York Knick. And as soon as I had Chris Childs in there, it's like, okay, Grandmama was on the New York Knicks at that point. Okay. Here's the next one for you. Gilbert Arenas, Sean Livingston, and JaVale McGee.
Washington Wizards.
This is the Washington Wizards. Yes. All right, so Ruckus, out of 9, you have 3. How many am I at? Should be at 4 or 5. I know that.
I think you're at 5. All right. Do you want me to
Yeah,
talk about the last one?
it's 5-3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to confirm that. Okay. All right, so this next one here. Shane Victorino, Jake Peavy, Ryan Klesko. Now, Victorino and Peavy, I'll tell you this one again. Victorino and Peavy were also teammates at another destination. The bridge one for you to figure out is Ryan Klesko.
That sounds like a Boston Red Sox.
Nope. Victorino and Peavy were Red Sox at one point. But Ryan Klesko was never a member of the Boston Red Sox that late.
Was he a
That is
Philly?
the No, that is the San Diego Padres.
Oh. I hadn't realized Victorino played in the Padres organization.
That was a very early. Well, the big point that I was making really for you at that point was that the destination that you were really wanting to look for was really not even Victorino. Victorino was just secondary. But the key thing was more so Ryan Klesko, because Klesko started out as a Brave and then was shipped to San Diego. And then Ryan Klesko went to San Diego.
Yeah.
All right. So now my last one. This would put me at 6 for 10. Get that. And where is my wild card from? Where have I already gotten my wild card?
All right, here's your wild card. Alex Cora, Fernando Tatis, and Angel Pagan.
Alex Cora. Now, this
It's
is Fernando.
senior.
Yeah, this is Fernando Tatis Sr. Angel Pagan. It's just a matter of whether or not they were at certain particular destinations at the same time. Kind of where I'm at on this. So I know that Tatis Sr. was a Cardinal at one point and was also a Met. The New York Mets.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah, I had to bridge that one with Tatis Sr. And then Angel Pagan, I knew was at one point a Met. What year was that one, by the way?
2009.
Oh, yeah, that would have made sense. That was, of course, right around close to the time of Steven Strasburg's debut. All right. So now that we've gone through teammates, time for the weekly stud and dud. And we've got ourselves some fun ones for this
Can
week.
I start and go ahead on my weekly stud and dud?
Yeah, because you've kind of already addressed a few of yours already.
All right. So I'll start with my stud. My stud for the week is Luka Doncic playing the game of his life in Game 7, as he has proven time and time again that in elimination games he is dominant. And another honorable mention that I will mention now is Albert Pujols closing the game in the ninth on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN against I believe it was the Giants.
Yeah.
And he not only saved a game, but he also understood the tail end of what it's like to get a home run hit off of you as a pitcher. As far as the duds, I only have one, and I talked about it kind of earlier. What were you thinking, Phoenix Suns? In Game 7, you blew it. You were down by 40 points most of the game, if not all of the game. The Phoenix Suns in Game 7 playing a pickup game, essentially, against the Dallas Mavericks in Game 7 to go to the Western Conference Finals. Sad day for Phoenix Suns fans, and I'm not really giving you much pity because you blew it last year too, and I really wanted the Pelicans to beat you this season. But yep, those are my studs and duds.
All right. So for my stud this week, instead of basically highlighting the Western Conference, I went over to the Eastern Conference. Since losing to the Bucks in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, Jason Tatum in the final 5 games of that series averaged 33.3 points per game, 8.5 boards, and 5.3 assists, and shot 47.5% from the floor. So Jason Tatum is my weekly stud for that series in his stretch run against the Milwaukee Bucks to put the to put to put the Boston Celtics into the Eastern Conference Finals. However, I have a little honorable mention that's brought a little bit of humor to the system. Again, I've already used him as a weekly stud back in an earlier episode. Brett Phillips being Brett Phillips, which is a complete gem to what makes baseball so much fun, and hustling around the bases in more of a hilarious fashion, as he did not realize that the particular ring of the rafters that he hit ended up being an end result of a home run at Tropicana Field. I mean, Tropicana Field is the worst baseball stadium in America.
Yeah, not to
And
mention just in general, like they're still trying to get plans to possibly move out of Tropicana.
but Brett Phillips taking everything with that in stride and still being the funniest player in all of baseball right now.
Yeah. I would definitely have to argue kind of on the other side of that token on the worst baseball stadium that the Oakland Coliseum is
Oh yeah,
probably another one too, especially because it's harder for to get a foul ball to actually be a foul ball when you have so much surface area on that field compared to other baseball fields. But also, Tropicana also suffers the same fate as far as just getting people to go to the ball games because the traffic is atrocious in St. Petersburg. But also in Oakland, you had the same problem as far as that, but also
the
the
team is being
livelihood.
boycotted by the fan base.
Yeah,
The team is being actively boycotted by the fan base. Tropicana, just the issue is that you're dealing with I-4. You deal with I-4. You're dealing with also the Tampa Bay Lightning still playing incredibly well, and the Bolts having a lot of support there in that area.
yeah.
So the Rays are not going to get as much due to the Bolts being incredibly successful. So honestly, really, the Rays need to get the heck out of Tampa. That's just my thought.
The question is, where do you go? But also, the Oakland A's were talking about for years having a local stadium near the bay so that they could have a very futuristic but also earthy feel to their stadium.
Okay, if the A's stay in Oakland, they would probably go. They would probably eventually go to Vegas if they left the city.
Yeah.
However, I think in Tampa's case, there are at least two great stadium options, let alone in the realm of the Southeast, in being Nashville, Tennessee, or Louisville, Kentucky. I think those would be the best two landing spots for you to think on for the Tampa Bay Rays as a relocation. Relocate to either Nashville or Louisville. Do not look into the San Antonio Austin region, though I think they should get a team. Nashville or Louisville should be your main spots.
All right, Spanish, what are we thinking? We want to close
Well,
it up?
I still have my duds. I still haven't
All right.
gotten. I'm only halfway through.
All right.
My my dud. My dud goes to the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, they had this all fine and dandy. You pitch a no hitter. I mean, granted, the Pirates are not a good team. The Reds are terrible. They pitch a no hitter. But normally, in certain circumstances, you would, if you're pitching a no hitter, you're generally going to win. Not with the Cincinnati Reds. They became the sixth team in MLB history to throw a no hitter and still lose, as they fell 1-0 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They are also the first team since 2008 to have this happen to them. But my honorable mention dud at Fenway Park, no less. Musician Steve Aoki. We may have a candidate for worst first pitch following 50 Cent. Even though 50 Cent right now is looking like a full dollar, Steve Aoki threw this thing like as if he was launching a rocket ship. He completely airmailed the first pitch and threw it higher than Snoop Dogg before the halftime show.
Let's be honest here, though. Snoop Dogg is always high. Don't get
Oh,
it
shizzle.
twisted.
As you caught where I was going with that.
Oh, shizzle my dizzle.
right, Ruckus. Before this thing goes even further off the rails than where we anticipated, take us out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Ruckus and Menace podcast, a sports podcast that we do or try to do every week. Thank you for watching, and also thank you for the much needed and also just in general support that we get on this podcast. If you want to catch us another time and or want to catch us in general, we are on Spotify, YouTube, and also recently added to Amazon Music, Stitcher, and Anchor, but also Spotify. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Ruckus.
Ruckus and The Menace.
My Twitter is at RuckusSports97.
And I am Ruckus and The Menace.
Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in, as always. We'll see you guys next week on Thursday.
Have a good one.